Hi, good day to you all. This is Mike Kirk, TALK20. So today's episode, I'm joined by Dave Greenaway. Dave is the managing director of a company called Warpline in Oxfordshire. He's also a sales consultant, speaker, coach, and has been to the top and been to the bottom as quick. So let's bring Dave in. Good day to you, Dave.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
I'm very well. You?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good.
Good. So Dave Greenaway from Warpline. I've just given you a quick introduction there, Dave. So today's topic, we're going to talk around sales and how you sell and how you adapt in the new age, which I know is one of your strong points.
Yeah, hopefully.
Do you want to just give the audience and listeners just a background on you, what you've been up to, and your company and your background?
Sure. So a snapshot really is I've had 25, maybe 27 years now, show me age a little bit, of starting and growing businesses from when I was 16, that classic cliche, mowing lawns, cleaning cars up and down the road. And from there, Mike, I've just had a number of businesses that have sort of interspersed my career. So I've always wanted my own business. I've always wanted to create success for myself and sort of write my own story, as it were. And the companies that I ended up running, like I said, anything from cleaning cars, I've had a training business, I've had quite a large franchise operation, I've been a contractor consultant, quite a lot of work's gone on in the background. And what I did every time that something went wrong or I had to exit or failed or succeeded and moved on, then I went to work for a little while to create the money that I wanted to just survive and or pay something off or create the next bit of investment I needed to move on again. So I've had quite a sort of, I suppose, interesting path for 25 or more years. But ultimately, creating businesses is what I love, is what I enjoy, it's what I'm destined to do. And okay. And here we are today. Yeah, absolutely.
Background not too dissimilar from myself, as you know. So just for the benefit of everyone, Dave and I were introduced by a mutual friend, and since then we've had a good number of meetups and business discussions and all around failure, as it were, or how we've adapted to failure. So obviously, I guess we consider ourselves as old school sales people from the examples you've just given there. How in your businesses, particularly probably over the last, I guess, as recent as 5 years and maybe even 10 years, how have you seen the sales process change, and what adaptations have you made within the businesses you've been involved in to I guess keep up with that new age, if you will, and that new process of selling or trying to close deals and get clients?
Yeah. I think that, so just to put some context around that, is people got smart, or should I say smarter. People started to realise when they were entering a sales process. So back in the early 90s, I was selling cars, used cars. It was that classic used car salesman gig. And the truth, I was there because I could make a ton of money, and I knew it, and I did. But I also was trained and coached and taught how to take people through a very, very precise qualification process, and through some pretty hard manipulative tactics actually on selling, and things now that you'd be thrown out of your business circles for, but then it was just what it was. So people got smart, right? People then started to understand, we could probably all have an experience of when we've found ourselves in a sales process that maybe we don't want to be in and we're finding it hard to get out of. So to answer that question is, people got educated, we started to learn, the internet definitely helped with that, and the fact that there was a much lower point of entry for businesses starting up. So more and more people could create a website, register a limited business or sole trader and go off and start a company. So therefore they started selling, therefore more people were exposed to this whole sales world, other than just when they were buying a car or someone tried to flog some windows on their front door from sort of the 80s and 90s. So what I've had to adapt from is that quite very old school. I know there'll be some people listening to this kind of can really relate to that old school way of things, when we could just shout at people and push and push and push and almost embarrass them into a sale. And then we would cope with buyer's remorse the day after. Right, I'd sell a car and I'd virtually, I mean, I'm not saying this is right, just a caveat for the audience, but we did it. We would lock people in the rooms until they were sold a car, and then I would sell them everything under the sun, and they wouldn't leave until I got as much out of them as I could. And we would call ringing a neck. That's what we did.
I think in the world we live in today, I think particularly with the online revolution, I think a lot more people are I won't say hiding behind internet per se, but I think a lot of people feel warmer when the relationship starts to build and nurture. And I think that old door kicking mentality that I've been party to myself in the past. You just get the door closed every time.
They don't even allow you to knock at the door, let alone get in and ask them a question. There's not even a knock at the flipping door. You can't just travel around. I don't believe anyway, just travel around knocking on everyone's door and expecting people to buy stuff. I'm not even a big fan of cold calling, and I know there's a whole ton of opinions. It's not. It doesn't even get 0.5% of return compared to so many other marketing activities and sales activities that can go on. I just think it's time to accept that those days are gone, and the people think they can go around bludgeoning others for money for sales. It's just dead. People are way too smart, and it's just changed. It's just not that way anymore. You can't, marketing, everything's changed radically. And even, as you quite rightly say, even in the last 5 years, right? I've noticed it in 5 years, from quite a large operation I had in 5 years to where we are today, and so much has changed for me. But then I could still use quite more leaning towards old school tactics, but now you just can't. You just can't do it. It just doesn't work.
So, do you feel the sales process has got a lot more cutthroat and more competitive as a result, or do you find entries to potential clients easier?
So I think actually there's got to be a big shift for everybody who's selling anything. And if you're in business, make no mistake, you're in sales, right? I believe that fact. If you're in business, you're in sales. End of. So I'm not even going to discuss that with someone. But there's been a shift. You cannot any longer, I believe, take people through your sales process, because your sales process is written for you at your convenience and what you believe other people like to buy. That doesn't work. What you've got to do is try and work out how your clients, your best fit clients, those personas, those niche groups that you're marketing to, how do they actually like to buy? You need to create a bit more of a journey that suits them, not suits you. So most organizations create this process that fits them. Right, it works for their administrative function. It works for the fact that they can get someone to make 20 calls a day, 10 emails a day, whatever it is they're doing, that activity. So it all works for them, and they miss out the most important part of that, which is that prospect or suspect, maybe at that stage, suspect, prospect, and opportunity client. And I think actually, so trying to answer that better for you is stop coming up with processes that you think fit you and start working on what does my client actually want. How can I take them on a journey that fits them? Now that might mean a lot of flexibility actually, Mike, inside of your journey, because not everyone, in fact nobody goes from A to B anymore in a sales cycle, and everyone has a different appetite and a different way of going through it because of the internet. So much more information is available to us. So what I do is, and I advise companies, what we're doing at Warpline is how can we take someone through their buying journey rather than cramming them down our process. No, I don't sound too flippant about that, because that's not easy, right? Because you have to have a lot of flexibility written into that, because the journey still has a destination, and the destination is a closed deal. And then where does it go after that? So there still has to be some element of process in that journey, but we've just loosened it. I now know it doesn't go A to B. It's just not the way it works anymore.
So do you, across your business in Warpline, do you look to automate that sales process? There's a lot of particularly online and digital marketers these days are going down. I say going down. They've been around for a while, but I think more and more people are tuning into that. The more they can automate the sales process online, and going back to the door kicking days, where now that conversion rate is virtually zero. I would have said. I mean,
basically, yeah.
But even and once you've built that relationship and understood what your clients are there, what need you're fulfilling or what want you're fulfilling, the conversion rates on automation are still not massive. I still feel it's me personally. I still feel it's a numbers game. You've got to get your voice out there now. The internet's a crowded place.
Very noisy. Yeah.
You say that old adage that you propel yourself as high as you possibly can and look down. All of a sudden, you're microscopic. You're not even in the mix. So
absolutely.
How at Warpline? How do you guys develop that process so that you can stand out a bit more?
I'm going to answer that really and be really awkward about it. Yes and no. I believe in automation, right? Of course, there has to be an element of automation because I can't press every button of everything every day. However, there has to be a point in my mind where the human needs to get in touch because the people still buy from people. I know everybody's heard it, but people still buy from people. And I absolutely believe in that. I don't care whether you're 60, 45 or 20 and just merging in business world. You need to be out there and you need to be talking to people. So I think that there's a time and a place for each part of that, and it's understanding what part of the journey that we just briefly touched upon do your clients actually want to have in an automated process, and when do they actually need you to set up and ring them? Because there's a fundamental problem there, right, Mike? And I speak to a lot of younger businesses, and I say young in the age of the business and not necessarily the person, but there's a lot of unwillingness to pick up the phone when they think an email will do. Now, one part of old school,
the new age mentality.
Yeah. And it's a little bit wrong. It's right in certain areas. Yes, because I don't want 1 million phone calls a day. But there are points when I'm looking into something and I do want that human. If someone rang me at that moment in time and said, "Hi, Dave, can I help you with?" I'd go, "Do you know what? Yeah, you can." And they'd probably get some money out of me there and then. I'd probably commit to whatever that next step may be, right? Sometimes when I'm left on my own devices, my environment changes. My 3-year-old son comes running at me as we're in lockdown time, or someone dropped a monkey on my desk when I'm in the office, or all sorts of fires erupt and all this life. So for clarity, I think, Mike, there's a time and a place for all of it, and people are sensible enough to understand where they think their clients need automation and where they need you to interrupt and actually go, "Hi, I'm the human behind all of this. Let's talk." Because one thing is the same, Mike, is that questions start conversations, conversations start relationships, and relationships will lead to sales, right? So if at no point you can get a question and create a conversation to create a relationship, you're probably very unlikely to create a sale. Now, just to put one tiny caveat around that, if I was selling something for $29.99, maybe automation is the way to go, right? I can't speak to 5,000 people a month to try and make 20, 30, 40 grand a month or whatever. But if I'm selling products that are 5, 6, 700, 1,000, 5, we have products that are 10 grand, right? I absolutely need to get on that call, right? Sooner the better, actually. I need to be a voice. I need to be a face to these people. So if you're selling a PDF at $9.99, don't ring them. Okay, that would make clearly no sense.
Do you think, just to interject, so you think it's more sector or product related as to whether or not it sits in the automation environment or the people person?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's more human related. Yeah. I'm sure people would go, "Well, that won't work in my industry." Well, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not in everybody's industry. All I know is that every business is built up of people. It's the staff, it's the customers, the suppliers, everything. It's all about the people. And if you're not finding that human interaction, that level of engagement, then you arguably won't do as well. You arguably won't do as well as somebody who is getting to that point of being able to have face-to-face Zoom meetings, telephone calls, whatever it is. So do you know what? I can't answer for every industry, mate. I don't know. Yeah, really hard to say. And I know whatever I say everyone will come flooding out at us, and we'll get that usual onslaught.
That's it.
Right, not my first rodeo doing these sorts of things and getting that barrage afterwards. But
I think it's as you said earlier on when we were chatting earlier. It's relative to the people, the business, and more importantly, their client and their wants and their needs. Yeah. And you like you say, one sales process does not fit all anymore. You know that's gone, and I think you've got to adapt to it. But I just quickly want to, because time's pressing on. I want to. You mentioned in there about the fear of doing things in that sales process. As you know from some of my previous podcasts, I'm quite a big advocate on dealing with fear and failure. I think people shy away from it, and I think. Again, my personal view is that, you know, if you're not failing, you're not trying. If you're not trying, you're not progressing. If you're not progressing, you're static. So, but people, I don't know if it's a UK thing or whatever, because when I spent some time in America, you know, they fail and brush off and carry on. You know, in all levels of life. Yeah. So, just give me just some quick examples of any particular business failures that have occurred, how that affected you, what you did to try and, you know, as I've just described, you know, leverage that failure to progress, or and just, you know, any I guess collateral damage, business wise, really.
So I think just to very quickly touch on the fear side of it is that I think when people start a business or in micro and small businesses, they are very, very good at what they do, and what they haven't quite appreciated is that there's 80% of actually the work is the sales, the marketing, the finance, the HR, dealing with your accountant, support, service, all these different things. And actually that, I think there's a lot of fear sits in there for people because they don't understand it. And to help anyone who's listening right now, if you want to get over your fear of sales, stop thinking about it like sales, right? We've just said it's not the way it used to be. You don't need to have the gift of the gab. You don't need to be a smarty pants. All you've got to do is have a human conversation, right? And just have an end in sight. Maybe frame it as client creation. That's a great way that I talk to my people about, is we're just creating clients. That's all we're doing. We're not selling anything. We're creating clients. Reframe it and it will start to make a difference. So to get to the failure bit, I mean, one of the two big things that recently came to my mind when I was maybe in my late 20s, I had a cricket business. I was very excited. I'm big into cricket. I played all my life. Love it. It's my thing. And I flew all the way to Australia and signed a deal with a brand to bring that big cricketing brand to the UK. And they had big players like Gillespie, McGrath on their books. They had some really big Australian players, very, very successful Australian. I was like, mate, so excited, right? So I flew all the way there, had a week in Australia. This kit was being made in India. We brought it over, and I had these grand plans. I was going to distribute it, okay? And I was going to set up and go and sell all my amazing cricket equipment to all the shops around the UK. And this is a bit before... a bit way before I had a website, but it was that classic 1995 type deal, you know, maybe say year 2000, maybe, where the buttons were still grey, and it just wasn't great, and they were just too expensive to have made. And long story short, what I never really realised was two key things: getting into wholesale and distribution over here is a flipping nightmare. I never understood the amount of work and stock I needed, the amount of journeys I'd have to make, phone calls I'd have to do, deals I'd have to do to even sell 5 flipping cricket bats, right? And I woefully underestimated how much work and money is required to get a distribution chain going. And I left all my eggs in one basket because I had a business in the UK that was utterly dependent on the business survival of the Australian side of it. Because if they went, I went, and I hadn't appreciated that at the time. And I had a perfect storm. The Australian business wobbled like mad. The brand, they came under massive pressure in Australia, and they changed their tack. They got away from cricket equipment and went to like sporting apparel, like clothing, which is a really odd move, but that's what they did. So I ended up with all this stock in the UK with no one to sell it to. The company had gone over here, and I was about 45 grand in the hole. Was it? There you go. Deal with that one then. Ow! I did not think about that.
People, I think, not that I'm saying this was the situation for you, but I just think there are so many people that still have that old school hustle and are hustling so hard, they lose sight of the process and that goal and get lost in the mix in the middle somewhere and get distracted.
Got excited.
Yeah,
Mike, I got excited, right? I was going to go and see Glenn McGrath at the Sydney Cricket Ground in the players' box when England were playing there, and I was going to do some business, right? So I spent like £7,000 on getting me and my dad there, and was just desperately excited because it's what I love. I mean, it's just like dreams come true. Don't get me wrong, I still love that right now, but I didn't look at the business properly. I didn't do my numbers properly. I got wrapped up in the dream and didn't look at the real practicalities of it, and my emotions ran wild. And we lost money. I lost a lot of money, and then from there I had to go to work to pay it off, and I ended up selling software and training software in car dealerships because I'd flogged some cars like 10 years before.
The losses, I
had to just recoup it, get back on track, and think what was next.
So just finally then. So another word you dropped in there was the emotion. So as you and I know, just for the benefit of people watching and listening, you and I are on a quest of business acquisition. In various stages, and throughout my business life, I think in the however many years, 35 years I've been working in that time.
You're old.
3 full-time jobs, I guess. So I'm like yourself. I'm well aware of the involvement you need to do to hustle. But in terms of the emotion, I think all the time I'm constantly re-educating on areas that I'm not familiar with. I'm moving with the times as fast as I possibly can because it moves very quickly as we've discussed in the sales process. But I think one of the key things I've learned personally is I'm pretty good at in business, maybe not so much in the personal life, but in business, I'm finding it easier and easier to detach the emotion from any deal that I get involved in. As long as the facts and the figures stand strong, then there's no need for the emotion. And it's funny, you come across people when you're trying to do deals that are led by emotion. They've built a baby. This business is
of course,
years plus or whatever, and it's just seeing how they react to just the thought of releasing that and relinquishing that business. Is you can see it. It's deep. So it's almost a game of poker.
Well, it absolutely is. I think it's not that we're devoid of emotion, is it? It's the fact that I think over the years we've learned. I have empathy for people. I get how they feel, and I can see why they feel that way. But I'm not in all this now to make BFFs, right? This is not. I've got plenty of great friends and family. I'm very blessed. I know that. So, and like you, that I see it, I understand it, I'm aware of it. I don't want to go out and hurt people or do anything that's unfair or reasonable to them. But on the same note, I don't lose sleep over if someone calls me a name. I had someone call me a name not so long ago. Quite a lot of names in a long email after something I proposed, and fine. Because you're quite right. It's because what they've built, they've become so emotionally entangled in this thing. And actually, I think what we've both learned over 20, 30 years is that business, the only real way to wealth in business is when you sell it. If you look at any top entrepreneur, when they really make some money, it's when they sell it, or they sell a part of it, or they float it, or whatever they do. It's never through the doing. It's, sure, some make a lot of money, but typically most people like you and I, we're never going to get wealthy by doing, not really wealthy, not freedom wealth.
No, you've got to scale to a completely different level, and I think that starts in there as well. Because you've got to start, in order to get amongst those numbers, you've got to start thinking those numbers. You've got to start, calculating those numbers. You've got to start looking at the I won't say the bigger picture, but you've got to start looking at the spreadsheets and looking at the balance sheets and seeing what they've got and where the growth is.
And Mike, and remembering what the point was, right? When you started, I guarantee that point in your mind, that first day you started, you thought one day this would be worth millions. Wouldn't that be great? I can retire on this. That's where most people start, right? This will be worth millions. I can retire on this business. And unfortunately, the sad truth is that 99% of businesses that are up for sale, as we both know, just don't end up there. Most just shut the doors with nothing happening because they've never worked out how to sell a business. But that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. But I think for the one thing I've learned, if nothing else through this life, is I now know where I believe the wealth is and how people actually, these millionaires really do it, how they actually go about it. And it's not through creating email lists and clients and Google AdWords. It's not it. There's a dirty secret out there. And I think very few people are cottoning on to it. I like to think you and I maybe have a little. We're starting to see the light a bit, and we're towards it. But yeah, so there's a lot of myths, and people just get so emotional. I mean, I did, don't get me wrong, of course I did, right? I mean, I lost my last company 3 years ago, and I definitely cried. You know,
it's hard. So, it's hard. You know,
right. It killed me. Yeah,
because you, like you said before, you've got this vision.
Yeah,
you implement this plan to fulfill that vision, and through whatever reason or whatever happens, which you can't plan for.
You got stuffed.
You've got to duck and weave and maneuver with the times and deal with whatever you're faced with. You either stick your head in the sand and your arse in the air, and hope it's all gone when you pull your head out, which it never does. It just compounds, or you just either, like you say, you just have to deal with it. You know, I think it builds that strength of character as well for the next venture.
Yeah, it does, absolutely, and a lot of learning. It doesn't mean to say you won't have problems with the next thing. It just means you realise you won't have the same problems because you encounter those. So, that one, that took me and the family a bit to the cleaners. It was a solid business. Long story short, I got into a contractual dispute. I thought they were going to back down because it's me. And I was one of their top flight franchisors, and they kept telling me they loved me and I was the best thing since sliced bread. And then I realised they didn't. And actually it was business, completely business. All the personal relationships just went overnight. And I got a letter from a very, very big solicitors firm who threatened quite well, actually, and scared the living crap out of me and my family. And I had to take the decision. So I went from 1 week having a flourishing business, doing, good chunky money, proper money, to nothing. Everyone gone, and all my kit being sold off for me and everything taken away.
That was virtually overnight from that.
Literally overnight, yeah. And the keys taken off me and all my everything just gone. And I just came home one afternoon with nothing, with a huge debt that I knew was coming my way, and a lot of banks chasing instantly. The blood was in the water, Mike, as they say. And entered into a pretty horrific, terrifying period of life. But 3 months later, more or less had it dealt with. I'd cried a bit, I'd moped about a bit, and then it was time to
muddle.
Yeah, done, dusted. Right, that's enough. I literally woke up one day and went, that's it, I'm over it. Get on then. So I went out there and just started ringing everyone I knew to see if they had any work for me, and I did. I started consulting and coaching and helping people. Yeah. And
now, however, what was it? 18 months, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, just was coming up 2 years. Yeah.
And now actually looking at negotiating £1 million deals for acquisitions. Yeah.
Being part of Warpline, which is great fun. Being the MD of that with my business partner, that's we're having great fun building that and really enjoying that. And a number of other things, people I get to work with and spend time with and help and talk to, and similarly people who come and help me and coach me and teach me. It's great. I love all that. So it's a whole new life. And it's that classic. I'll say it very quickly. It's that classic. I'm glad it happened, but at the time it was flipping horrible. I'm now in hindsight, I'm glad it happened. Yeah.
I've had similar experiences myself, which they're for different discussions, because this talks about yourself and your background and topic. We're staying on topic. So we're a little bit over. Just want to just wrap up really. Just to if you can tell us where we can find you, LinkedIn, Any socials?
Yeah, LinkedIn, definitely. I'm on LinkedIn quite a lot. You can find me at Warpline, and we've got some really exciting stuff coming out of lockdown life. Some new product services. That's really exciting. We've had a lot of fun building that and putting that together.
Any coaching sessions planned post lockdown?
Yeah, hopefully. I've been working with a number of micro businesses and just helping them along. And to be fair, through lockdown life, things have paused for pretty much everyone, haven't they? So that's all slowed right down. But I don't do that in a massively serious way. I just do it because I love it and I want to try and help people. And there's
building your network. It's building your network.
Building my network, yeah. And genuinely, and I know people say it's quite flippantly sometimes, but I genuinely really enjoy just trying to give a bit of advice, things that I know and have done and have experienced. And if I can help one person in one way, then great. I'm genuinely happy with that. That's fine for me.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, you've got as we all have, I guess, of varying sizes. We've got the battle scars from the failures.
Yeah, the grey hair.
The thing is, in all seriousness, you do get through as long as you switch up there.
Yeah,
and you double down and triple up, which is a shameless plug of one of my sessions.
Mate, like you would say, you've got to do it anyway. Be scared, just do it anyway, because you've got one shot at this whole game, this whole life thing.
Yeah.
Be terrified, fine, get it, but just do it anyway. Just
That's right.
do it.
That's right. You have to start, and the thing is, I again personally, I get criticised a lot for it, but I set my personal targets as high as I possibly can, and people sometimes say to me it's not achievable.
Yeah.
And that drives me on because, all right, the further away I set my target, I'm going to hit somewhere close. Whereas if I set a shorter target, I would never have got there in the first place. So why
I have that as well. But isn't it interesting how it's always the people that have never tried anything in their life and they've had the same job?
It's
good for you.
It's surprising the people I talk to when they show genuine interest, and like you say, you like to volunteer and help, and I'm the same when it comes to people developing and progressing. I'm exactly the same, and it's surprising that the people that are in similar situations, when you tell them what your aspirations are, what your goals are, and you're off the blocks, and this is the plan, and this is the road I'm going to take, the genuine interest and support that you get when you tell them how far ahead the target is and the size of the target, all they want is for you to hit it.
Yeah.
And they're the people that have either already done it or are on the road and a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
So it's but the reality is the world's full of people like that, and not there to
hunters and gatherers, mate. There's hunters, people that go after it, and there's gatherers that are happy just to pop around their farm and gather a few berries for them. Whatever that analogy is, I don't quite know. But
exactly, yeah. So I just want to finish just quickly, Dave. Sorry, I want to finish just.
Go on, mate.
So yesterday I watched. I watch a lot of business interviews. I listen to podcasts. I mean, my book library is I'm running out of real books. But there was Rob Moore from Progressive did an interview with a chap called David McCourt, who's very, very successful and wealthy business guy over in America. Who from the interview, regardless of his financial strength, if you like, from a commercial point of view, is feeling this whole pain of the pandemic that's going on. It's affected everyone. And there's just a few notes that I just wanted to run by you just to get your take on it.
Hit me.
I took them down last night because everything I do. I always say to people when I'm doing my sessions is, even if you take something away from it, right? So you could do a session, an all day session, as long as they take one tiny thing away that fosters something in their business, then everybody's winning, right?
Yeah.
So I took out. He said some interesting things last night, whereby and just going back to our conversation earlier about the old school sales tactic, right? Yeah. And he said, and I guess this is something that people need to consider when they've gone through something like you've gone through, where you've built a substantial high sales revenue, and then the rug's gone overnight, and then you're dealing with the fallout and no revenue. coming in.
Yeah, and no money. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So he said that he's noticed throughout his business life that most people only act after we've peaked. And what he meant by that was that when they get to a point in life, so for argument's sake, back in my 20s, and probably the same for you, you've got all this fire in your belly. You've got, you want to take on the world, but you don't actually do it, if you're with me.
Yeah.
And you get to a stage in life where, that young enthusiasm and energy has possibly gone, but we're at an age now where we're like seeing it for what it actually is, and we think we better get a move on.
Yeah, better get on with it.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and I think I'm definitely there. There's no question. I'm
I know you are. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
When I look back, I just think, God, the opportunities that have arisen and presented themselves to me, and I've gone, nah, it's not for me. Could have quite easily jumped on the bandwagon, and I look back at them now, and they're flourishing. They're absolutely, but fair play to them.
I
so that was quite an interesting one. And then both Rob and David McCourt had said that in times of crisis is always the best time to start in business.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And then this was a real interesting statement that David McCourt came back with, and he said, it is, but the problem with this pandemic, it's wiped out the clients too.
Yes.
So it's quite an interesting thing. So this is
it's
a major shake-up globally for the business world.
This is a lot broader than, say, when the housing market has a bit of a struggle and then a load of investors obviously move in, or something changes in the stock markets and those Buffetts of the world go flying in and buy up as much as they can.
Yeah.
That counterintuitive move, when else is selling, they start buying. But this pandemic's been very, very different. So our business model at Warpline is good. It's solid. It works. It's fine. We've got clientele, but our clientele were stuffed.
Yeah.
What can and I know it's the same for everybody. That's not exclusive to us. Yeah, that's very interesting. There's only a few.
It was quite. It almost makes you go cold with thinking, wow, we're going to have to change again. We're going to have to look at the business model again.
I've got to say, Mike, before we end, my business partner James, who asks me a lot of questions and we talk at length, and I get a lot out of him as well. I get inspired by him too. Is that he said to me, how do we build a moat around Warpline? So if we have this again, that we're protected, how do we create our castle and build a moat? And I went, do you know what? For what, me, I can normally got an answer for most things, right? I went, do you know what? I don't know. I don't know how you protect yourself against something so huge, so vast, so deep cutting, and I don't know. Other than us making face masks. I don't know.
It's been a difficult one. I think there's a little bit more pain to go through yet. I think. The biggest pain is going to come from winding back up. That's our biggest problem at Warpline. We got all the loans, we furloughed, and we're kind of like, we're safe. Right? Okay, but actually, we've got to gear back up. And if our clients aren't gearing up and winding up again, how are we going to? And exactly.
When is that day going to come when money starts circulating again? That's the bit I keep coming to. When is the business world going to go, today's the day we're all going to start spending and selling? Because it's got to money's got to move again.
Yeah, money has to move. Yeah,
got to move around, and that's the bit that worries me. Because if that's not till December,
right. Let's end.
Anyway,
before we
go on, mate.
What is the best advice that you've ever received, and what advice would you give to anyone in this new age of selling?
Okay, I think one of the things that sticks with me constantly is from one of my coaches. I've worked with a lot over the years, a guy called Rob Pickering, and he always said to me, you got to live above the line. And what he means above the line is ownership, accountability, and responsibility. So you take ownership, you're accountable, you're responsible for everything that goes on in your life, your actions, everything falls back to you. It's yours to handle. You can only control you. And then below the line is blame, excuses, and denial. And where you meet those people, always blaming somebody else. They've always got an excuse, or they're just denying it. So I do live by that generally. Ownership, accountability, and responsibility, and living above the line. Look it up, above and below the line. It's all over Google. And I think it's a good way to think about business, because that's very overview, big broad thing. And the only other bit of advice is, if you're not selling right now, you need to find a way to. You have to find a way. End of.
I agree.
Nice business, yeah. Simple.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll be here for the rest of the day with you, mate.
We've overrun, but as always, it's a pleasure chatting. You entertain me with your stories, at least. So I think
thanks, mate. I always enjoy chatting with you. It's always good. You've got some crackers as well, I know. So
I have, yeah. But these
classics. Yeah.
If somebody wants to interview me, then by all means, get in touch.
I'll interview you one day, definitely.
Good. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. All right, Dave. Well, take care. Thanks very much.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. Take care. See you. Bye.
Dave Greenaway from Warpline in Oxfordshire. Some great insights, some great stories. But as you've probably seen from the interview, Dave's old school sales, who's been through some serious business upsets, which has affected not only his business, had a massive impact on his personal life. He's through the other side, and believe me when I tell you this, he's on a course that's going to put him back on top and beyond. There's no question. So if you want to be a guest on TALK20, drop me an email at talk20@mikekirk.co.uk. Failing that, follow me on the socials, Twitter at Mike Kirk Global, and Facebook at Mike Kirk Global. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.